Good afternoon, class. I am Projesh Kumar Roy, and today I am here for a special demo video lecture on Geoffrey Chaucer. You know about Geoffrey Chaucer? Geoffrey Chaucer is the father of English poetry, according to John Dryden, and also Matthew Arnold said that English poetry begins with him. So Geoffrey Chaucer in our English literature a very influential and important character. He has his poetries, the Canterbury Tales he is famous for, also the Troilus and Cassidy. And today we will discuss a little bit about everything related to Geoffrey Chaucer. So I will share my screen and I will elaborate my slide. This is a short demo video. So there are just 3 slides. So I think it will be helpful. Let's do it. So this short PPT will focus on Chaucer's life story, why he is so much important in English literature and from the aspect of English language, and will slightly focus on Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, the diverse social representation of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Chaucer was born in 1340, or some people may say 1345, some people may say 1340 to 1345, anything between that. So that's not important thing because we do not have such evidence. The important thing is about Chaucer's life journey. In 1359 to 60, Chaucer served in the War of France. It was part of Hundred-Year Wars, and Chaucer was caught by the French in 1360. Edward III, Richard II, and Henry IV were three kings Chaucer served, and the most important one is Edward III. Edward III paid a huge ransom of £16 for Chaucer. In 1366, Chaucer travelled to Spain. In 1372, Chaucer travels to Italy. Again in 1378, Chaucer travels to Italy, Milan. Why I am saying these things and why these things are important? These things are important because a poet, a narrator, a author need experience. Chaucer had served in wars. Chaucer was captured. Chaucer traveled a lot. So Chaucer had such experience, a lot of experience, which he wrote after. That is why Chaucer's literature is so much pleasing. Chaucer's contribution to English literature is immense. His work, his first of great work. Chaucer has also translated works. Chaucer has produced his original works, and Chaucer has also gathered social information that is also in his work. I am talking about the Canterbury Tales. So, here is some of the Chaucer's important works. Translation of Roman de la Rose. What was the name in English? The Romaunt of the Rose. So, after that, the Book of the Duchess, the House of Fame, Parliament of Fowls, Troilus and Cassidy, the Legend of Good Omen, Canterbury Tales. That's not all. There are more works. These are also most important. Chaucer had written his most of the works in dream allegory. Dream allegory. The House of Fame, the Book of the Duchess, uh, these all are the example of that. Parliament of Fowls, a fable works. Troilus and Cassidy, a very important work. Why it's very important? It is inherited from the Trojan War. But why it is important? Because Chaucer was criticized for these works. In Troilus and Cassidy, some critics believed that Chaucer misrepresented woman ethics or woman values. And Chaucer had the answer. Chaucer had written the Legend of Good Omen, that he might have not misrepresented the womanly values or the womanly ethics. That's the fault in the Cressida's character. In the Legend of Good Omen, there are examples how a woman should be. how a woman should perform his ethics or his values. So the great difference or the great problem will arise that we are studying Chaucer in 21st century. Chaucer has written his work in 14th century. There are 700 years gap. And why this is, there is a lot of change in perspectives in vision. So the vision has changed, feminism has arrived, and the perspectives have changed a lot. So that is why it's kind of difficult to realize or to understand Chaucer's point of view, Chaucer's reasons to portray such characters. And we will see the Canterbury test is that in Canterbury test, Chaucer gathered some social characters. The English stage, basically Chaucer's life has three ages. The most important is the English stage. So the great achievement of the English test is Chaucer's Canterbury test. Why this is so much important? So we have studied Old English literature and the first half of Middle English literature. Chaucer is the part of the second stage of the Middle English literature, also the gateway of modern English literature. Before Chaucer and his work, the Canterbury Tales, there was no such work who has gathered all the social contemporaries, all the social classes in one single work. There is a writing William Langland's Piers the Plowman or Pius the Plowman that is about the common people but not very famous. But the work Canterbury Tales is also about the royal throne, is also about the corrupt frauds, it's also about the person, the common people. And they are all in one in together describing their stories, their life stories by telling their stories. So this is a compilation of good stories. And another important aspect of Canterbury Tales is its general prologue. In the general prologue, Chaucer has given the introduction of Middle English age of England. There are 29 pilgrims. Almost all the professions are covered. The clergies too, the royal thrones, the business or the peasants, all the aspects is covered. And the important thing in it that Chaucer had represented all them together. 29 pilgrims with Harry Bailey and Chaucer himself, with the humoral representation. In the prologue portion, Chaucer has given the introduction of English literature too. The 18 lines of Chaucer's introduction, of Chaucer's general prologue of the Canterbury Tales is most important 18 lines of English literature. It might have shaped the English literature or might have introduced the English literature to world level. And the way Chaucer glorified characters, it's not for his personal reason. The knight is not glorified for his chivalry, but the knight is glorified because of its responsibility, duties, and glorification of love in his stories. The wife of Bath is criticized, but the prioress also was criticized. The clergies, the river, the miller, they were also criticized, but the person was glorified. So that is kind of ethical representation of glorification in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. So that is why Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is so much important, because after Chaucer there are a lot of works where we are glorifying the common people, we are criticizing the royal peoples, but Chaucer was the first. And what about his influence on the English language? Chaucer's work, the Canterbury Tales, and many other works, why it is so much important on the perspective of English language? Because he gathered vocabulary. English was not a complete language. English was divided between dialects, East dialects, West dialects. Chaucer was the first one who gathered vocabulary and standardized English. That is why the modern English literature, I mean the 20th century modern English literature has so many easy words. But if we see the works of Shakespeare, Dryden, Ben Jonson, the words were kind of tricky, kind of tough words. So Chaucer was the first one who gathered vocabulary, and there was a long journey. And into a 19th century, in Victorian period, in modern period, we found such refined English language. So Chaucer is the reason. And again, I said that Arnold said that English poetry got birth with Chaucer. John Dryden said that Chaucer was the father of English poetry, and some way he has produced the standardized English language too. That's all. That is a very short video. I think it may help, and in details we will discuss it later. Thank you.